Welcome back to PRN Test Drive. I'm James, and this week I've been driving the 2026 Genesis GV70. I've got it in its sport trim, so naturally everything nice that Genesis has to offer in the GV70, I've basically got it on my trim here. Driving around in the Genesis GV70 for an entire week has really shown me that it's not just a fancy Hyundai. I think they've done more than enough to separate themselves completely from that brand and just make their own name. I think the Genesis platform, or this GV70 in general, has done enough to not only show that it can compete with the German automakers, but possibly do some things a little bit better. The 2026 Genesis GV70 comes to us slightly refreshed with a different looking rear end and also a different looking front end with some welcome interior changes. I'm gonna go through all of that and more. I'm gonna take it on the road as well, but first, let me give you some details. So the Genesis GV70 is powered by a twin turbocharged V6 engine producing 375 horsepower, 391 pound-feet of torque. It's paired with an 8-speed automatic transmission, and of course, it has all-wheel drive. Well, they're definitely not giving this Genesis GV70 away. I can't call it cheap because the as-tested price here is right around $85,700 Canadian. But what I do want to highlight is that Genesis has a very class-leading warranty as well as a concierge service when it comes to vehicle maintenance. That might make that price point a little bit more doable for some people. So the Genesis GV70 comes to us refreshed. It's still fast, it's still luxurious, but it is missing something to really take it to those German automotive. It does a lot really well, but there's one thing missing. Let's take it on the road and find out. Out on the road with the Genesis GV70 where it belongs. And let me tell you this, if you're a anti-EV or anti-electric in-vehicle person, well then you're gonna love the G70 and just the entire G70 lineup, because there's no snuck in little mild hybrid, there's no little electrification this or that. It is just straight up a turbocharged V6 in the one that I've got, and that's it. It ends there. There's no like little gimmicks they're trying to do. They're not trying to, you know, cater to the EV kind of guidelines, nothing like that. And if I put it in Sport Plus mode and give it the rips, this is what it looks like. Let's do it. Whee! So, not that crazy. Like, it's not a lot of horsepower that's going to knock your socks off. It's not an incredible amount of torque or anything like that. But I don't think that the general person that's buying a GV70 is buying it to like just be a public nuisance or race around town. I feel like you're probably buying this to go from point A to point B in luxury and some like nice looking features and stuff like that. And for that side, you're getting all of that. But for the racy side, not so much. But what you will notice right away is I've got some pumped in audio. Not all of that is the V6 piping away. A lot of it's the pumped in audio. Again, I'm fine with it. So many vehicles have it at this point. It's pointless to complain about it. It's here. Let's just make sure it sounds good at this point. And if we have that, I'm okay. But what you'll notice is how quiet it is. How like the noise isolation in here is so good. How it really does a good job of cutting out the outside world. It makes, of course, the sound system, which is a Bang & Olufsen, sound really, really high quality. Even more high quality than something with like a less or more noisy cabin. This is just, you know, EV-like. I know I said there's no batteries or anything, but the only thing about the GV70 that is EV-like is the silence in here when I'm driving in comfort mode. Even when I'm driving in sport mode, like it can still be silent on the highway and just cruise around, and that's really, really important. It does have active noise cancellation, so that's making a huge difference here. It is a huge player, and I'm actually glad to have it. I like quiet vehicles. I don't really want to hear all the road noise or the wind noise. There's quite a bit of wind today as well. Not hearing it at all, and I'm also not getting pushed around by it. Two really good things to know. Now, it does do some things a little bit better. I think that the G70 is designed a little better than some of its German competitors, and the interior implementation is a little better, but the thing where it lacks a little bit, I feel like, is in its transmission. Now, while, like I said, a lot of people aren't going to use this to jet around town, just when you compare it to something like a BMW, like the X3, I haven't driven it yet, but the X2 I have, so much better to drive than this thing in a sporty manner. When you get into the comfort modes, they're pretty much similar, but BMW just does that a lot better than Genesis has been able to figure out. And I say that because when I'm living with it and when I'm driving it around in like Sport or Sport Plus mode, it tends to not really know what I'm doing. It doesn't know, like, especially when I'm coming to a stop or going slow, it's really that low end torque that I don't get that much of from this transmission and from this engine type. It feels a little slow, feels a little sluggish, and it kind of like shifts up when it shouldn't, or feels like it shifts down. It's like it can be jerky at times too in traffic, so I usually just don't use it, and that's fine because, again, when I get into a Genesis, I'm expecting comfort, and that I get, because, you know, it's got a really good ride quality. It's got the road preview, so, like, you know, it's constantly making adjustments to the suspension, the dampers, so that way a lot of the big bumps don't get into they don't get to the driver. Like, I don't feel it in the steering wheel, I don't feel it in my seat at all, and so that's really important when I'm looking at a Genesis. But I will say that where some of the Germans do it better is in the driving dynamics. Genesis still has a little bit to catch up on there. But in a straight line, it's absolutely no problem. It's when you get into the nitty gritty stuff. Handling is all right. The steering does load up quite a bit in sport mode and stuff like that, so that's good. And also the suspension stiffens up as well if you like that. Like if you're on a canyon road or like a twisty road or something like that, it's going to be important. You're going to want to feel that. Other than that, you're probably not going to use it very much. It's just not something that I use very much, and that's completely okay. So like I said, ride quality is good, and I mean, I can really speak to ride quality, especially in vehicles like these, because for those that don't know, I live in Quebec. I drive and have driven on Quebec roads my entire life. So, you know, with the amount of seat time that I have in vehicles with not so great suspension, my spine is probably all over the place. I think my spine, just from driving on these Quebec roads all my life for 29 years, even in the back seat in my little baby car seat, I'm sure my spine just doesn't look good. I'm sure it looks like a racetrack. But at least driving vehicles like the Genesis GV70 and some of the higher end ones kind of save the progression of me just constantly having to look at the floor. So I do appreciate a really good ride quality, and I know one when I see one. So let's talk about interior, because that's where I think, well, maybe they lack a little bit in the driving dynamics, but where they do things better than the Germans, especially when it comes to like BMW, Mercedes and stuff, is in the interior. This interior is so well thought out, so well designed as well. I'm gonna go from left to right. It's the easiest thing to do. So left hand side, starting with the door panel, I love the black and the orange stitching in here. I have like the package with the Napa leather and the suede inserts here. So yeah, I'm just blown away. When I opened this thing, I was like, okay, give me a second. Like, I gotta touch all this stuff, and I absolutely did. So I've got two sets of memory seat setting. I do have a massage seat for the driver. It's power adjusted for the driver and the passenger. The passenger seat actually has these little buttons on the side here where the back passenger can actually move the passenger seat up if they want just first class amount of legroom. I do have some illumination controls. I got the automatic tailgate button. I can turn my traction control off from there, although if you put it into Sport Plus mode, that will also turn the traction control off. I really like this steering wheel. It's a D-cut steering wheel, so I tend to enjoy those. I've got like plastic paddle shifters here, which honestly, you're not going to use them, so it's not that big of a deal that they're plastic. I really haven't touched them at all this week. Don't really plan to either. I like the feel of the steering wheel though, and I like how it's kind of like it matches the same color as the rest of the interior. We have physical buttons for the media control and as well as the cruise control stuff, so that's all very nice, all really standard stuff, but man, the feel is really good, and we get the orange stitching all the way throughout here. I got the digital gauge cluster. This is like a one screen kind of setup. You saw it on the GV80 Coupe. You see it on a lot of the newer Genesis coming out now, which is really cool. It's this one spanning screen that can do, can kind of combine the map in the gauge cluster and the infotainment display at the same time. I find it's a really cool feature. But I really like it. Right now it's raining outside, or there's rain in the forecast, so like the background of my Genesis GV70 is like, it's showing like raindrops. If it's a thunderstorm, it'll show the thunderstorm. If this car is like a little weatherman, it can tell me the weather in my little widgets. It's got a bunch of different themes as well that you can go through. When I do put it in sport mode, it like looks like the Darth Vader lightsaber, looks really cool, and it kind of has a different theming for every single one. But you can see the basic stuff. Like you can see my trip info, my media, and what I like is you can kind of change what's where, in terms of what's on the middle and on the right, and I think that's really cool. And it's also really fast, really snappy, very responsive, not laggy at all, so that's also very important. Good to see. And like I said, I can use the built-in map, but also when I connect it to CarPlay, I can use the Apple Map and have Apple Maps right in my gauge cluster and have the whole screen just be one Apple Map, which is really cool. And that's just awesome to see that. And like right now, it's kind of doing like the double where the map looks like it's kind of fading in. Looks really cool. And yeah, the infotainment is a lot, right? It's a very smooth process, an easy system to use in terms of like speed. It's not laggy, but you do want to spend some time with it because there is quite a bit of settings. It does have like this 3D setup mode, which I recommend using. You can kind of go through like the outside and kind of pick and choose what setting you want, and it'll kind of just pop you right there, which is good. So like you're gonna want to take a second, but it does look really, really good. And now, moving on, we don't have physical controls for our HVAC system. It's like haptic feedback, like sort of half buttons almost. But I will say that it is better than not having them at all. Like, so BMW, Mercedes, you got to go into the infotainment. It's all locked in there. Here, at least we have our own little separate area, and it's always up. I don't have to click a button and then click something else. It's just always right here. I can control everything from right here. I also do have quick access buttons as well. I have heated and ventilated seats for both the passenger and the driver. I can control the rear. They have their own climate control back there. So this is a tri-climate zone climate control setup. And yeah, so I can control everything basically from up here. I got heated steering as well. There's no like fancy perfume dispenser in here, which sucks. I really wanted to try it. I didn't get to try it on the GV80, which does have it. Still don't get to try it on the GV70, but one day I'll experience the nice things that has to offer. But look, it does have physical knobs for the actual temperature control, which is nice. I do like that. And we do have the premium kind of volume knobs and the tuning knob. All the knobs and buttons in here feel very high quality. The buttons that it does have, very nice and high quality, so we like that. Then I'll move on to the center console. I've got like two pieces of absolute jewelry. One, I can control the infotainment display while I'm driving because it is far. This is where I sit. I can't touch it. So instead of me having to lean forward and get distracted, I can just kind of use this little wheel here, spin it around, and go to what setting I need, whether that's like, you know, trying to call somebody. And I don't like to use voice. I'm not a voice control user, so I don't use like Siri or anything like that. I just use it where I'll touch the screen. And this little piece of jewelry makes it very easy to do that. There's also a fingerprint reader. It's not necessarily for starting the car. It's more for profile and different, like, you know, deep settings that you can do. It'll read your fingerprint, notice the profile. That's how you authenticate that. I also have another piece of jewelry, like I said, for the gear selector. Very nice. You've seen it probably on a couple other different Genesis models. Very standard, very good. I like what they've done here with like the carbon fiber. It's like a gloss carbon fiber almost. It doesn't get dirty. However, the metallic part around where the gear selector is and this the infotainment controller is, it does get quite fingerprinty. It's like this weird like matte kind of metal, and it gets fingerprinty quick. I got two standard cup holders, a little bit of storage in here, a wireless charging pad, which is really nice. The good ambient lighting setup, Genesis always does that well. Check out these seat belts. You probably noticed them the entire video. They are orange. That is cool. I've got a really nice sunroof as well. A decent amount of room in the back. I don't feel like it's, you know, it's not enough. I feel like I've got more in here than something like an X2, probably about the same as something with the X3, but still it's a decent amount of room. Fits my baby seat, doesn't compromise the front passenger space. I don't have to move this seat up so much, which is good. The seats are very comfortable. They've got good bolstering, holds you very nice front and back, so that's good as well. And like I said, there was a bunch of trunk space room. So like, I'm not worried about trunk space, and I'm not worried about rear space either. So overall, spatial-wise, it's a little on the smaller side. Like, you don't have an abundance of legroom, but you could definitely get by with a family with one child like I have, no problem. Visibility is also really good. I got a 360-degree camera in here, as well as the little cameras when I turn on my turn signal, so that's always nice to have. And yeah, overall, it's just been a really easy experience living with this thing. I just enjoy it. The interior has been really good, and that is probably, you know, I think interior and in some cases exterior design, they do it a little bit better than some of the German competitors, whereas maybe the driving, that's where you can question it. All right, so when we talk about the Genesis GV70 exterior, we have to mention the slight changes. Like I said at the beginning of the video, there are a few. So starting with the front end, we do have nice daytime running LEDs they still kind of look the same. A lot of these changes, you're not really going to be able to tell just by looking at the video. You're going to have to go back and look at last year's model and then compare it. That's where you're going to see the biggest one. You can see that the front grille has gotten a little smaller, like a little bit less aggressive and wide, and it makes the entire front end look a lot more sporty in my opinion as well, and I do like that. Also, the front bumper has had a little bit of a rework as well. Front facing cameras, parking sensors, you name it, we absolutely have it here on the Genesis, and with this matte paint color, you really can't go wrong. Now, when you come to the side profile, not a lot of changes at all. It's still got the keyless entry, all the standard stuff you like, but the thing you're gonna notice the most is these new rims. You have kind of like these blacked out rims with these black accents all the way around. You still have those nice Genesis brakes that are there as well. And that's pretty much it for the side profile. When you go to the back, you will see a slightly reworked rear end where you can see they changed the way that the exhaust tips look. I didn't mind it last year. I still don't mind it this year. I think it still looks good. You still got those iconic tail lights as well that look nice. Trunk space, we got an automatic tailgate as well as a ton of space in the trunk. Does not compromise the rear space at all, so I found that to be really good as well. So overall, when you look at the Genesis GV70, I've lived with it for a week, and every time I come out of a parking lot or store or anything, I look at this matte paint color. You've got to get it in this matte paint color. Also, I forgot to mention, they did change the front emblem slightly. It does look a little cooler, a little bit more integrated with the body, if you will. But again, I like the last one. I'll like this one too. I think that as well, it actually looks better than some of its German competitors here. It looks luxurious. It looks sporty. It looks ready to go. It doesn't just act the part, it plays it too, because we do have a decent amount of speed in here. It's got the V6, right? Especially if you go for the sport trim. We've got the suede insert. So like overall, in the luxury slash like slight little twinge of performance package, I am very happy. All right, so there you have it. That is going to do it for my overview of the Genesis GV70. So pros is you get really nice looking styling. This matte pink color is excellent. I do like the slight changes they've done on the exterior. It makes it a little bit better. I like the rear wing. I like the, the reworked exhaust, and the front end looks significantly better. I like the smaller, kind of more cutting edge look that it has. I like the new daytime running LEDs. Very nice. It's all welcome changes. And then on the interior, obviously, you have a ton of changes as well. I think interior and exterior design wise, like I said before, it just looks better than some of the BMW and Mercedes competitors that this thing is going to go up against. And I think now it absolutely can compete against. You've got really nice ambient lighting. You've got the suede everywhere, the suede inserts in the seats. I mean, what feature is in here that you couldn't ask for? I don't know. I don't know. It's just the only, the biggest con of it is that if you're looking for something that has a good amount of luxury and then like a really engaging driving dynamic, you might be missing out by not going with a German competitor. It really is going to depend on what you want out of your vehicle. If you really want something super engaging, I think BMW's got that really good with their inline-six engine and their transmission that they've got. Whereas, if you don't care about that, you just want something that's extremely comfortable, extremely well equipped, and looks really good, both interior and exterior, then the Genesis GV70 is the way to go. If you're just somebody that's gonna leave it in comfort all the time, you're not gonna rip it around town, then by all means, the Genesis GV70 is the better option there for sure. But like a lot of things vehicle-wise, it's gonna come down to preference. But hopefully I helped you kind of lay it out, what Genesis does better versus what some of the Germans are doing better right now. It's really going to be a give and take kind of thing. So you can't have everything, but you can have quite a bit of some things. But that's gonna do it for my thoughts on the Genesis GV70. I hope I've helped you a little bit, kind of give you more insights on the vehicle if that's what you were looking for. That's always what I try to do. Make sure that you check out some of our other videos on the channel if you're interested, or if you're in the market for any vehicle right now. We've done so many at this point. We've probably done it, or we are going to do it at some point. So that's really cool. And yeah, make sure you like, subscribe if you want to see more Genesis on the channel. That's going to do it for me. I'll see you the next week. See you in the next car.